and loud for our buddy Scott Brown.
Yay! Woohoo!
Fresh off a golf trip to Arizona. I'm loving this guy.
Yeah.
He's sons of bitch. Let me tell you something. I get a text last week. You know, I'm talking about this, not about that. I'm like, where are you? He's like, Troon, sending on the first tee. Here's a picture. Hate me. And I did. I hated you immediately.
Listen, it's not easy, but somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. Now, it's kind of cool because I'm planning the very first one of something you do, and we're actually going to talk about this study group that you just came from. You and a bunch of guys that do what you do across the nation have stayed in touch, and you get together once a year, share ideas, play a little golf, have some fun. That's a good thing to do.
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I wonder why more advisors don't do it. It's one of the things that I was talking to you about, or I sent you a text on this morning, and so I look forward to it every year. We go somewhere cool and we play golf, but the first 4 or 5 hours of the day are spent on the craft. And and these are not just run of the mill advisors. These are people that manage billions of dollars.
Yeah.
I think I added up about $25 billion in the room in assets under management. So these are people that are dedicated to their craft. And I think if you're going to hire a financial advisor, you ought to find somebody that's in that category.
I would agree with that. You know, I think Glenn does this very kind of thing with attorneys that are part of that legal elite thing that he goes around, and he thinks it's great because it's just a great symposium of ideas.
Yeah.
You know, different cases offer different looks at the law you maybe have never approached before, and you learn a lot. He thinks they're vital to staying on top of what's relevant in the legal world and how things are being argued.
Yeah, I don't think you'd want any profession, really. I mean, you certainly wouldn't want your doctor to be, doing the same rotator cuff surgery they did 30 years ago. I was a big meat cleaver and a knife, but they have lasers now, sir. So you certainly wouldn't want to do that, right?
I had that during my vasectomy. It was done. It was done.
No, he's not kidding.
It was basically done by Charlie Munger. Scott,
there was a burning smell you didn't recognize?
Scott, you have no idea, buddy.
Oh, I do have an idea.
he had to have been 85.
Oh my God!
And and here's the thing, he dealt with all these old tough Navy dudes from like the 40s and 30s. I mean, you couldn't show pain.
Yeah.
And he's giving me the vasectomy, and the story goes, I'm not trying to gross out or anything.
Yeah, it's working though.
But when he removes the little piece of tube, he wipes it on that.
Oh no!
And then it tried to crawl its way back home,
and it's moving. Yeah. And I'm sitting there, and he goes, and he looks up. He looks up because he feels me getting cold.
Yeah.
I mean, my whole body's getting clammy. He looks up and he goes, "You ain't gonna pass out on me, are you?" Like he was yelling at me. Like he was like, "Oh,
well,
Dad.
man up." And I'm just tying it in a knot. It'll be fine.
And he hit me with the smelling salt. I'm sure it was on a submarine in 60s.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my God. It was so crazy. But yeah, man, it was cool when you told me about that. Sent me the picture. I was like, well, that's very cool. And then when you told me about the entire thing, I was like, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, you take it serious. That's what people want to hear.
No, I do. I take it. Well, I do take it seriously because it's people's life savings that I'm generally dealing with. And what's neat is you go into this room, and I believe it or not, this old dude is the youngest guy in the room most of the time. Most of these guys are in their 60s and 70s. Some of them have done it for 50 years. So there's a lot to be learned, and there's a lot to learn about how to deal with clients, a lot about new investments. We have people come in from all walks of Wall Street to teach us about maybe new opportunities in the market. So it's, again, it's a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. I have a good time, and I may or may not have had a shot of tequila on the golf course once or twice.
4 or 5.
Oh, yeah, they do misbehave a little bit. But, the reality is that it's a learning opportunity, and it's an opportunity to learn from the best. And so I try to bring those ideas back to in fact, my team hates when I do these things because when I come back, it's like I'm vomiting ideas. All right, we got to do this. We got to call this client. We got to fix this thing. And they're like, oh, great, he's back. So,
hey, before we get into what you brought for us today, I do want to ask something that has come up on the texting service a number of times since you've been in. We just lost time.
Yeah.
A number of people have asked, they have their 401ks, and they maybe contributed into it for quite a while.
Yep.
And maybe they're getting to that point where it's time to make a move or whatever. Or maybe they're in it and they're halfway through. They don't think it maybe is optimized enough. Is that something that you guys do? If people came in with their 401k, do you guys offer suggestions of where they should be with their money based on what they want with their 401k to optimize its earning potential?
Yeah, 100%. We actually have a system for helping them manage the 401k and making recommendations and adjustments when needed. So we actually can do that for a client. A lot of times, to your point, a person will come in and they'll be like, well, I'm 58 or I'm 59 or 60 or I'm getting close to the red zone in terms of retirement. I don't have a lot of liquid money per se. I might have 20 or 30 grand saved as a slush fund, but I got 600 grand or 800 grand in a 401k, which is a lot of money. It's my biggest asset, but I really don't have anybody helping me. I got the person in HR telling me to throw a dart at the mutual fund page or something, but I don't really understand. And let's face it, this is important now. This is my life savings, and this is what's going to fund my retirement. So the short answer is yes, we have an apparatus for that.
Well, good. A lot of people are asking that question. They want to make sure that was within your umbrella of services.
For sure.
And I would think that would be right up there for sure. And as people because again, we're talking about retirement, how you're going to live after you decide to quit working or when you decide to quit working. Maybe more of a win that you get to make that choice. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, can I retire, right? You have this bucket of money that you've been putting into. Sometimes for people, it's 40, 45 years they've been saving, and they've been diligent, and they've been disciplined, and they've adhered to a good process. But then at the end of the night, they come home and they're like, I still don't know if I have enough because I make X, I have X in a bucket. Will the bucket replace the X that I get in income?
Right.
And really, it's not a complicated conversation. We can really answer that question in 10, 15 minutes. But it's more importantly, as you get closer to retirement, it's critical. An example would be as you got $500,000 saved, you realize you need $25,000 a year at 5%. That's, that works out $500,000. But what if we go through a bear market 6 weeks before you retire, and now you got $400,000.
Right.
Suddenly that withdrawal becomes 6 or 7%, which isn't as doable in the long term. So it's critical that you start having, I tell people, minimum of 2 years, you start to plan for your exit so that you don't expose your assets to a market like, say, 2008 or 2001. It's critical that you do the planning ahead of time.
And also you need to understand exactly what tax implications are going to happen, how you've saved your money, where you've put it,
Yep.
What you want to do. There are tax implications that come into play that you may not know exist, and it could wind up being penal.
100%. It's something as simple as where do I take the money from? If you have a Roth bucket and you have a traditional bucket and you say, well, I need to draw income in the most tax efficient way. Well, maybe it's you draw off the Roth first because that's tax-free money to you, right? If I retire at 62, how do I bridge the gap between 62 and 65? Because I'm not going to get Medicare till I'm 65, so I need some money. Where can I get that from? What are the tax implications? I mean, I could go on all day about the things that you need to think about.
But that's the good thing is everybody now understands you can answer those questions for them.
Sure.
And if that's something they're looking for guidance on, that you can handle that. We've had that question a number of weeks. I want to make sure we get that cleared up. Here with Scott Brown from Edgewater Family Wealth. We're doing It's Only Money. We do have some positions left for the March 27th seminar.
We do.
Just a few slots, though.
I think we have 6 spots left.
Just a few. So if you want to go to edgewaterfamilywealth.com, all the information's right there. Get signed up. You get lunch and great information. Doesn't cost you anything to go there. And what you could walk away with could legit change your life and the way you look at your money to get you on a better path to saving and can ensure yourself maybe a more active retirement.
Yeah, I think for me, when we do these events, my goal is to give somebody 1 or 2 good things to take away, actionable items or something where they go, ooh, didn't think about that. We're not selling product. We're not pushing anything. The only thing you're getting there is education. Certainly, if somebody wants to work with us or talk to us about working with us, we're open to that idea.
Yeah.
But there's no product push. There's no annuity sale. There's no life insurance sale. There's no real estate sale. There's just It's just an education. And again, my goal in each one of these meetings is to say something that each person in that room didn't know and was valuable to them at the end of the day.
Right. And we do have people calling in about FRS retirements for law enforcement. We're talking about index life insurance. Here's what I would say. We only have a little bit of time here on the show to talk about things that Scott wants to come up with. If you will just go to edgewaterfamilywealth.com, make an appointment. These guys will answer these questions for you, get you on the right path. So do that if you don't mind. All you guys texting and asking these questions, please do that.
I'm glad they're curious, though.
Yeah, I am as well. To be honest with you, I'm excited. I wish we had more time to be able to go over this stuff with them, and maybe we will soon. Who knows?
Never know. Could be something in the works.
So let's do this. So we are talking about retirement.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, obviously, I mean, we are all in our mid to late 50s. Jack and I, Deb 38. But we're, this is.
I had my handle on the knife.
I was going to say 28, but that's
Whoa.
So this
Smart man over there.
And you said 2 years. Like these ideas are starting to creep into my head. I'm 56. I've got more broadcasting life in me, but these are things you want to start planning for and moving forward. So I'm cognizant of that. So one of the things you want to talk about is why partial retirement is way better than traditional retirement. And look, right off that rip, is there even a traditional retirement anymore? Does that even happen anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea, when Social Security was first brought about in 1935, I think it was kind of formed, modeled after a pension a company had in the late 1800s, and they said we got to take care of people who don't have the assets to retire comfortably because their health is giving out. And the reality is, our great grandparents did manual labor mostly. They did they were farmers or they were industrial workers, and their bodies were just wore out.
Yeah.
And when they came up with Social Security and said the age is 65, most people were living to 64.
Right, because they're starting to work at 11.
Right.
By the way, you're in the factory 10, 11 years old.
They were tore up by the end of this thing. You know, I remember looking at my grandparents in their 40s, and I was like, man, those people are old looking. You know, you meet a dude in his 40s, he might look like he's 20. So because we're not out in the sun, we're not getting our brains beat out, we're not digging holes everywhere. Some people are still doing hard manual labor, but the reality is even those people have better safety precautions. They know to wear sunscreen, they wear hats and safety gear. So I think it's important to understand that you don't have to just go sit on the sofa either. That is one of the things that frustrates me with people. We're not designed for idleness, first of all, and I could do a whole hour on that.
You have no idea.
It's not good for your mind. It's not good for your body. And we know that people on average who stay active in retirement live 4 more years than people who just go sit on the couch and watch television. So you don't want to do that to begin with. And the other thing I would say, it's so helpful for when a client comes in and they say, hey, you know, look, I'm going to retire. I'm 65, but I'm going to go work at the golf course, or I'm going to go work at the ski shop, or I'm going to go do whatever. I'm not going to make any money, but it'll be fun. I might make 10, 15 grand. That 10 or 15 grand can be the difference between success in retirement and not, because the strain that it takes off of the assets that you've accumulated.
Yeah, my mother-in-law is looking at this right now, considering the retirement thing, and that's exactly her goal, is the partial retirement thing. She wants to retire and do what she wants to do, but she also wants to be active and keep her mind active and do something that makes her feel productive.
Yes.
And makes her feel kind of worthy. Earning a few bucks is just a side note. That's good.
Yep.
But really, in reality, she's doing it to just kind of keep her mind straight and thinking about it like that. Like, I can't imagine ever fully retiring. I could see myself being like a golf ranger or starter or something at a club.
You're going to be the grumpy ranger or the happy ranger?
I would be the grumpiest some bitch out there. Yeah. If you're 5 minutes behind, I'm giving you a penalty.
Some of them are really mean.
Oh, yeah, they
scare me.
Yeah. But I could easily see myself doing something like that, you know? Maybe even a part-time cook at a place. Just for something new, because it's fun.
Again, you need it for your mind. I once took a month off, or tried to take a month off, and I told my wife, I'm not going to do anything. We're just going to go to North Carolina. We're going to hang out. And there was a guy who lived in the house next door, big fancy house, big deal, retired lawyer. And best I could tell is he got up every morning and poured himself a screwdriver, went and played golf with his buddies, played cards, drank some more, went home and drank some more until his wife made him dinner. He went to bed. He was so miserable, this guy. I spent a few hours with him one night because he invited me over. I don't think he smiled once, because he had shut down. He had completely shut down. You could see mentally he was probably depressed, right? Drinking doesn't help that cause, right? So we're just not designed for that, and we don't need to do it. I have plenty of clients who are working in their 70s. I mean, we're in the air conditioning for the
right, yeah,
most part,
exactly.
You know? So it's not like we're beating our bodies to death, and I think it's unfair to teach people that you have to stop. The dream is to do nothing. Idleness is not all it's cut out to be.
Yeah, that stuff gets old fast.
Very, very fast. So,
including your mind.
Definitely your mind. You need to stay curious. You need to stay active.
Challenged.
You need purpose.
You need purpose,
bingo.
exactly. You need something for your day.
You need a reason to get out of
Yeah.
bed. I mean, even sometimes when I'm on vacation for more than 7 or 8 days, I get up and I'm like, I don't want to do this. You love golf because you don't do it that often. You love vacations because you don't do it that often. Once you can do these things all day, every day, you're going to get sick of them real quick.
It's the kid you always have candy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll do it for a day or two, and they're like, I don't
I got
want
a stomach
I'm good.
ache now.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. Is it?
Yeah.
So do most of your clients, they choose the partial retirement thing, and then when you say that, it's better for that reason, right? Just better for you as a person across the board. I mean, part of it is finances, of course.
For sure.
But in reality, it's more maybe for you as a person as well.
I would say both. I would say, again, if you had $500,000 and you needed to spend, let's say you needed to spend $35,000 a year off that $500,000, you got to get 6 or 7%. But if you made $10,000, right, in your golf ranger job or something like that, that reduces the spend on the capital, therefore making the capital easier to last longer.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
It's just easier on the drag on the assets, and again, the byproduct is,
and you don't get penalized up to a certain amount, right? What's the most you can make in retirement? Is it like $25,000 or something?
No, it's a little more. I think it's in the mid-30s now.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's gone up a little bit. It's not a ton, and when they penalize you, they tax your Social Security and things like that, or increase your Medicare costs.
Yeah, that's what happens, right? Yeah.
But again, I just don't think people should sit around and say, because like I said, I got lots of clients working in their 70s. If you're a white collar worker, especially, there's a vacuum of those people between, say, age 65 and age 40. There's a whole, so you could literally just go to your firm if you're an engineer. I have an engineer. He was an electrical engineer. He retired to Idaho. He worked one day a month. He'd fly somewhere and do some electrical engineering stuff for, I think it was Florida Progress back in the day. And they'd pay him like almost half of his salary for that one day.
Oh, really?
For that one day for working. So if you're a white-collar professional, you're kind of in the catbird seat right now.
Damn. I actually saw something about that today, about the idea of staying in the workplace longer, and just reducing your, just kind of figuring out a good balance in the workplace. And that it was like a little piece on happiness, is just how people stay. Like Jack is saying, like you have worth. You have purpose and worth.
Yeah, Jack told me he's only going to work one day a week now. I don't know if he told you that.
Yeah, but
he only does
until
it
I
now.
die. You want to know where I'm going to die? It's at work.
Yeah. Jack, I will tell you, if you told Jack right now, Jack, you can retire right now. You can go home. You're set, ready to go. Enjoy your life. Jack would fight to stay in this building.
Yeah.
He would show up anyway?
He would show up anyway.
Yeah.
He would be like Jack Black in that movie High Fidelity, where he would go to the record shop every day and find out that the guy hasn't paid him for months.
Yeah.
He
It's
just
his purpose.
He just hangs out at the record shop.
He needs his purpose.
You guys need help or something? Can I
do something?
I'll sweep.
So the stock market's down 425 points today. Should I sell all my stocks?
Absolutely. Just run for the hills. That's what I preach I'm glad you've been listening, Jim.
Every time I see the market drop, the first thing I think of is you, and how you hear people like, I can imagine when it drops like 400 points, like, what are we doing, Scott?
You want to know something true here? I had no idea it was down 400 points
really?
until you just told me.
Like 425
I
or
don't
something.
care. It's not going anywhere.
Bitcoin's going crazy.
No, that's great. So more people will buy it at the high. That's fantastic.
65K right now.
Talk about people being led to slaughter. But we won't go there. Of course, I'll get a lot of hate texts.
No. Do you really get a lot of that from the Bitcoin people?
The Bitcoin mob? Are you kidding me? There's a Bitcoin mafia, and if you talk bad about Bitcoin, they're coming for you.
Oh, like Beyonce fans.
I supposedly.
Swifties.
They get very angry when you talk against their book.
Really? That's wild.
Oh, that's a legit thing. Yeah,
really?
People will get downright annoyed with you because they have a lot of money in it, and it makes them mad that it could possibly be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, that is interesting, though, because, a lot of them have made a lot of money. I mean, if you bought the crash, just theoretically here, if you bought the crash here, what was it, about a year and a half ago? When it went down to like 30 grand or 25 grand or whatever it was, and you bought then, you'd be sitting pretty now. But again, it's how long you hold that trash, right?
Yeah.
You don't know when it's going to fall out.
And I don't have a strong opinion on what Bitcoin is or is not. I'm not a fan of it, and I could go into reasons, but it'll just annoy people, so I won't. But the reality is most people are not buying the dip. Most people are waiting till it's been in the news, till they hear you say what you just said, which at $67,000 now, and it used to be 20, and they're like, oh, I should get me some of that. Well, yeah, you should have got you some of that at 20,000. So that's the problem, is most people will not buy the dip because it doesn't feel right.
Right.
They'll wait for it to go up because then it feels better.
Well, also at 25, they're like, oh, it must be unstable. I'm not going to make a move
Exactly.
now. I'm not going to make a move now. It's going to fall apart.
I'm not getting on that losing horse.
Then they see it going up 10 grand. It's like, oh, that's the people trying to fool you to get in there. Right? They
not falling for that.
Then it's
I'm going to wait till it's 80 grand and then I'm all over it.
They're just sitting on a bed tying a noose. They're like, what did I do with my
Stop it.
It's so terrible.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is the first time, like, I had no idea. I had somebody explain Bitcoin to me, and it took 5 minutes. And I was staring them dead in the eye.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Because there's nothing to explain.
I'm like, yeah. Don't get it, dude.
Yeah.
And then I hear that night, I hear a report, and the one person they go to, it happened to be when Charlie was still alive, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
And the analyst said, would you ever, Warren, what do you feel about Bitcoin? What do you think Warren said? He said, what is it?
Yeah,
he just
exactly.
asked a question. He goes, what is it?
Explain it to me.
And he goes, hey, look, can you put this in my hand? What does it do?
Is it a service? Does it produce a dividend? Do they produce something?
Don't know what they do.
Yeah.
Wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I wouldn't invest a nickel in it, he said. I was like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, it's like a game of musical chairs. You just hope the music doesn't end and you don't get a chair.
All right, so we do have about 6 spots left at this March 27th seminar.
Yep.
Tell everybody about it, what they can expect, how they can get involved.
Yeah, so it's the 27th at 11 a.m., Ruth's Chris and Winter Park. park. It's actually not a huge room, which is great because we can talk to a lot of, to the people closely. But we usually go about an hour and a half, and it's just educational. We're teaching people. As I've said before, we have people who are accumulators and people who are refiners. Accumulators are tend to be younger people who are just getting started. They want to understand how do I get started? What should I do? How much money do I need? That kind of thing. And I cover all that. And then on the other side, I talk to the refiners. These are people that might have $500,000. They might have $5 million. They need to understand that as their money grows, the complexity of the situation will grow hyperbolic, right? Because now you have tax issues, you have trust issues, you have inheritance issues. So we talk to both groups. We cover maybe like 50-50, and then that gives them the opportunity to ask questions. And like I said, the ultimate goal is if you come to one of these events, hopefully you get a nice meal. I'm pretty sure of that. But hopefully you take away a couple things that you didn't know, and it's helpful to you in the future.
Also on the website, EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com, he has a couple books out there that you can pick up as well that also go through a lot of this very easy-to-read information, by the way. Scott writes like he talks. I mean, he wants you to understand it. He kind of wants you to understand what he's doing for you, how and why these ideas are coming across. And you can get the books there as well.
You can get my book, which is I've Never Made Anyone Rich. You can download that, or actually maybe they'll send you one. And then we have an advisor guide called I Got a Guy, and it talks to you. I call it the I Got a Guy series, and it just tells you what to look for when you're hiring a financial advisor, and that's an ebook, and you can download that as well.
Absolutely. EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. It's Scott Brown. Give it up good and loud, buddy.
Yay! Woohoo!
All right, we'll see you next week for sure. Have a good weekend, buddy.
Thank you all.
You got it. All right.